So the first theme of Homer's The Odyssey is hospitality, and this is the major themes. And the major themes in the Odyssey are especially significant because they serve to form the moral and ethical construction of the most of the characters. The reader learns about the characters through the themes, and the more complicated a character is, the more he or she engages those major themes. Therefore, the most complicated character, Odysseus, appropriately embodies each of the themes to one degree or another. Actually, the epic poems are written on some themes, and the epic hero or the title also should be related to the all themes. So, hospitality is one of the major themes of Odyssey. And in Greek tradition, hospitality, and especially in Homer's world, hospitality is very essential. As we know that it is a code of conduct. And if we study the Greek epic poem Iliad, that we see a form of hospitality. And that hospitality was violated by uh, Paris when Paris went to visit Menelaus' house in Sparta. And next time, the guest host relationship plays important role in Greek tradition, as we see in the Odyssey. And however, is important to note that in Odyssey, naturally, everyone seems to be hospitable because there was a notion that if you are hospitable, your people, that your family might also have such kind of hospitality by the other member of this world. And arriving strangers may be dangerous or harmless, and residents are wise to be prepared for travel. When a stranger visits someone's house, naturally the people uh, might be fallen in danger or in trouble. However, strangers are but wayfarers, probably in need of at least some kind of help, especially if you notice that stranger may come for two reasons. One, they might attack the host. Either the stranger might have the necessity to stay for some time. Suppose he may be very uh, pitiable condition, and for this reason, some sort of help are needed by the strangers that we perceive through the wave. And similarly, the residents themselves and their friends and kin may at some time be wayfarer. And it is a notion, and especially that the people who think that who are hospitable, they have a belief that if some of their family member become wayfarer and a wanderer sometimes, and they might fall in same scenario. And for this reason, if one to be hospitable, if anyone wants to be hospitable, that kind of hospitality will be getting back to his or her family members next time. This is the concept of Greek or Homerian notion of hospitality that we see in the Odyssey. The civilized people therefore make an investment in hospitality to demonstrate their quality as a human being, and in hopes that their own people will be treated well. Then they traveled. Hospitality or the lack of it affects Odysseus throughout the epic. And the reader can judge severity by the degree of the hospitality offered. Odysseus' own home has been taken over by a horde of suitors who crudely take advantage of Ithaca's long-standing tradition of hospitality. As we have already known that in Greek tradition or in Homeric tradition, people tend to be hospitable in a view of many. That means uh, such kind of hospitality we will be getting there next time. In that case, Ithaca has a long heritage of hospitality. This island, Ithaca, the people and the king is very much hospitable. Such kind of positive attitude has been rudely utilized by the suitors, and they came to Ithaca and they become Penelope's guest and suitors in marriage, and Telemachus' guest as well. And they are not the wanderer, they are not the seafarer actually, but they are getting uh, uh, advantages of Ithaca's long-standing tradition of hospitality, as we see. And in his alternatively, uh, Odysseus receives impressive help from the Phaeacians and initially from the Aeolus. Circe is of great assistance after Odysseus conquers her. Okay, so Odysseus, in one hand, when uh, suitors came to have hospitality from Ithaca, in the same way, Odysseus got such kind of hospitality in many of his wanderings, in many of his sea voyages, when uh, Odysseus got in trouble. But the difference is that the suitors came to Ithaca and got good or undue advantages of long-standing tradition of Ithaca's hospitality. But on the other hand, Odysseus is really a seafarer, really, really is in need of hospitality when he fall in trouble in his 10 years journey, in his 10 years journey from Troy to Ithaca. So this is the difference. So it can be assumed that what would happen that if the suitors would be driven away from Ithaca, according to the Greek tradition, that if such kind of incident would happen, that all the suitors had been driven away by Telemachus and Penelope. Okay, so what would happen? It is in the belief of Greek tradition that Odysseus, in return, wouldn't have his track or the right way to return to Ithaca. So this is, though this is very much contradictory. The suitors are in ill motive, but Odysseus is really in need for hospitality or some help or support from the host. That is the situation. However, though Ithaca, Penelope, and Telemachus, they were hospitable, so Odysseus um, also got hospitality from many of his hosts in his journey towards Ithaca. Zeus himself, king of the gods, is known as the greatest advocate of hospitality and the suppliants who request it. Yet even he allows the sea god Poseidon to punish the Phaeacians for their generous tradition of returning wayfarer to their homelands. So this is Jesus Christ, Zeus himself is very much hospitable to um, the other people. So this is the theme of hospitality we find uh, in the poem Odyssey. Another theme, major theme, that is the loyalty or the perseverance. So it is one of the major theme, as Penelope has become the symptom of loyalty and fidelity towards her husband in 20 years. And Penelope, when uh, when when Odysseus left for Trojan War, that was uh, 10 years fighting in Troy, and next 10 years for his journey. So in this 10 year, 20 years, Penelope had been waiting for uh, for for her husband to return. So Penelope become a symbol of fidelity. Penelope has become a very symbol of loyalty towards her husband. Another example, Telemachus, who stands by his father against the suitors. Odysseus, uh, Odysseus's old nurse, Eurycelia, remains loyal to Penelope and her absent master, and Eumeneus, the swineherd, and Philotius, the cowherd, are exemplary in their loyalty to the master and his physician. So they are the loyal servants, and also an excellent, if humble host. And Eumeneus makes his king proud as he speaks respectfully of the royal family and avoids the invasion of the suitors. So this kind of fidelity we see, or loyalty, is very much rewarded. However, in Iliad, we have seen that uh, Helen was not loyal to Menelaus. Critics say many things about Helen, but next time we see Penelope, that through her many awkward situation, I would say that more than 100 suitors had been waiting outside. They want to marry Penelope and to be the king of Ithaca. So, uh, retreating all kinds of requests, Penelope was loyal, and Penelope was loyal to her husband. That one day her husband, the great king Odysseus, will return, and Ithaca will once again be protected by Odysseus. This is his hope, and that is his belief, and this same belief got Penelope uh, loyal to um, uh, towards Odysseus. And simultaneously, we see uh, other disloyal members or characters in the Odyssey. Who are they? They are the goatherd Melanthius, maid servant Melantho. Melanthius has become friendly with the suitors and insults Odysseus while the king is still in disguise. Melantho goes even further, sleeping with the enemy, showing disrespect for the queen and insulting the beggars and Odysseus. And the loyal servants are rewarded. Those who betray their master are dealt with more harshly. So here we see that uh, other characters like Menaltheus, the goatherd, and also the maid servant Melantho, they are disloyal towards their masters. However, what is the scenario of the Odysseus? Odysseus, the king, and if Penelope would be loyal to her husband Odysseus, Odysseus should be loyal to uh, to Penelope and also Ithaca. And through the long journey, always we have observed that such kind of um, loyalty Odysseus shown in, in his attitude. The first time when he was imprisoned by the nymph Calypso, the Calypso wanted to marry him, and in return, Calypso wanted to give immortality to Odysseus, but Odysseus uh, he didn't accept such kind of reward that he would be immortal and leaving Ithaca and Penelope away from his life. So without the order and uh, such kind of intention also we find in case of uh, Achilles, that Achilles Achilles was offered that you will have a short life and you will be immortal, and rather you will be famous in the successive generation of your country. In or but uh, if we have a long life, you will not be famous more. uh, Achilles took the first one. That means Achilles chose the short life and he became glorious. But in case of Odysseus, we see some contradiction. He had been he Odysseus was very loyal to Ithaca and Penelope, and he didn't accept the offer of immortality from Calypso and the other nymph. But at the same time, Odysseus had been enjoying physical relation with Calypso and also some other nymphs. But Penelope, uh, she was very loyal to her husband from the beginning to the end of this epic poem. So Penelope is expected to be absolutely faithful to her husband. Given the account of the battle in the hall at the end of the epic, one might well imagine. Actually, fidelity and the loyalty is always rewarded. And Penelope was loyal to Odysseus, so she was rewarded, and also Odysseus Odysseus also loyal to Ithaca and Penelope, and for this reason, he was rewarded in such a way that he was getting back the Ithaca, his old kingdom, and also he got back his wife and kingdom and his son Telemachus. So they were also, and alternatively, the disloyal members of the epic poem were punished severely. So this is the scenario of loyalty, and also vengeance, another theme of the epic poem, the Odyssey, the vengeance. Poseidon and Odysseus are the most noticeable representative of the theme of the vengeance. In order to escape from the cave of Cyclops, Odysseus blind the one-eyed giant. Unfortunately, the Cyclops is the sea god Poseidon's son, and Odysseus has engaged a formidable enemy. And Poseidon can kill Odysseus because the fates have determined that he will make it home. However, the sea god can help to fulfill his son's wish that Odysseus should arrive in Ithaca late, broken, and alone. His shipmates, lords, and his household in turmoil. So Poseidon and Odysseus, these two characters become the becomes the epitome of vengeance in the Odyssey. So Odysseus accidentally or Odysseus killed or blinded the one-eyed giant. And uh, this is this is a one kind of tricks uh, Odysseus played to get rid from the hand of one-eyed giant. But unfortunately, that giant was the son of sea god Poseidon. And for this reason, Poseidon and Odysseus, they become the epitome of vengeance. So in case of Odysseus blinded the one-eyed giant in case of necessity to protect his fellow man. But Poseidon to avenge on Odysseus that and also Poseidon's son's wish that Odysseus will be falling in trouble and that kind of vengeance has been executed from towards the last of this point that all of his crew men were died and Odysseus was alone and returned Ithaca alone. However, the motive of vengeance is different. And Odysseus also, in case of uh, Odysseus, he took vengeance towards the suitors and the disloyal servants. And he demonstrated impressive tolerance as he endures in disguise in insults and the assaults of the suitors Antinous and the goatherd Melanthus and the maidservant Melantho, for example, each will die in gruesome death. So Odysseus, the way Poseidon took vengeance on Odysseus also took vengeance, uh, vengeance towards the disloyal suitors, or towards all the suitors and the disloyal servants of Ithaca. So these two men became the symbol of vengeance. Odysseus and uh, the sea god Poseidon. Another thing that is appearance and reality. So as we see that in we see the different perspectives that is the appearance and reality in the Odyssey, and this is basically done by the goddess Athena. Athena can change her appearance as well, and he can change others' appearance as well. She can change. So this theme of appearance vs reality occurred in the epic poem Odyssey for the cause of Athena was. At the very initial stage, we see that Athena took the shape of mentors. That means the uh, Odysseus's family friend and gave advice to Telemachus to call a assembly. And next time, Athena himself uh, uh, himself, Athena, Athena himself took the shape of a mentors to help and guide Telemachus initially. And several other occasions, Athena changes Odysseus' appearance, either to disguise him or to make him look even more formidable than the normal world. So in another portion, we see that Athena changes appearance of Odysseus at times of necessity. When it is needed, then Odysseus become long, tall, handsome, and in another time, um, Athena changes in the last portion of the epic poem. Athena changes uh, Odysseus as the old beggar, and also he changes the strong side or the fire, a fiery looking of Odysseus, and Athena changed Odysseus as a old beggar. So this is the theme of appearance and reality, as you see through the portion of this. Another important theme that is we see in the Greek poem, that is the spiritual growth. So one of the questions asked that a work of literature is whether the principal character grow to develop as the story progresses. The theme of spiritual growth is central to the Odyssey, especially as it is relates to Telemachus and Odysseus. When the epic opens, Telemachus is at loss as to how to deal with the suitors and when who have taken over his home and seek the hand of his mother in marriage for primarily political reasons. So the two persons in this epic poem, especially Telemachus and Odysseus, they had a journey. Telemachus didn't have the journey towards the sea. However, at the very initial stages, Telemachus was in a problematic situation, how to deal with the suitors. But next time, gradually, this Telemachus become very much efficient in handling the uh, suitors. And through the passage of the epic poem, Telemachus got his spiritual growth, that he got maturity in his mentality as to be capable of um, doing the kingship of Ithaca. And uh, and in case of Odysseus, when Odysseus left for Troy, Odysseus actually a common man, and he didn't have the experience of life. Actually, he took part in Trojan War for 10 years, and at the time of return, he got acquaintance with the reality of his life, and he got the contact with the Calibanistic people, the Neve, the several other goddess, and the pitiable situation from which he got how a man can get rid of such kind of situation. And to such kind of situation, Oedipus apprehended the way of life. That means he got the idea how a person can cope up and how the person can move forward in his way of life. And so Oedipus got a growth spiritually from the 20 years of his journey or the 20 years of his life. So this 20 years is the growth of spirituality of Oedipus as well. So by the end of the epic poem, Odysseus seems to be a wiser, more perspectives leader than he might have been had he sailed straight from home from Troy. So it has been conjectured that it is an analogy and it's a hypothesis that if Odysseus would return directly from Troy to Ithaca, it would take 1 to 3 weeks. But for the cause of some troublesome situation, it took 10 years. So 10 years time is for the spiritual development of uh, Odysseus in the epic poem Odyssey. So these are the important theme of this poem we have discussed.